So did you see the Wild game last night?
No.
You didn't? Have you seen a Wild game this year?
No, because I only have ESPN Plus.
I
think the games are blacked out on ESPN Plus if they're local market games.
Jake's got some.
I've gotten to see the Toronto Maple Leafs 3 times, and I haven't seen the Wild ones.
The Leafs are doing quite well.
They are. Austin Matthews
stomped. Didn't Austin Matthews have a couple hat tricks?
Yeah, he had hat tricks in their first 2 games.
That's amazing. The Wild are doing well. I thought they outplayed Toronto in that 7-4 loss, and then they just spanked the Canadians, and they shut out the Panthers. Those are 2 good wins.
The Canadians, no.
Yeah,
the Canadians are terrible.
Any road win's a good win, right? 3 points on the road's good, right? Or 2 points they call it in the NHL.
Yeah,
should be 3, but
2 points on the road is fine. But the Canadians are terrible. The Panthers
were in the Eastern Conference Final last year.
I think they were in the Stanley
Cup Finals last year. Yeah. Well, I didn't
as
lie. They are
as
the
the
Eastern
8th
Conference
seed.
Final. Yeah, but they beat one of the best teams of all time, the Boston Bruins. So I think it's a good team. So good win. I think the Wild are off to a fast start. We have a advertising partner, the Minnesota Wild, and they have the coolest packages, Peter. Let me tell you.
Tell me.
You can get an 11-game package. So I'm speaking to hockey. A lot of our hockey people are real busy. They can't get a full 40-some ticket package. Get me a half season or get me kind of a little partial season. So they have like these packages. They got an Eastern Conference 11 gamer, which I think is super cool. So you can go watch all Eastern Conference teams. You're sick of watching the Sharks. You're sick of watching the Ducks. I want to see.
I'm definitely sick of watching.
I want to see Carolina because we see them on TV. You know, so I want to see the Carolinas. I want to see the Bostons. I want to see the Rangers.
Yeah.
If you're a snowbird, you can get a package where you see some games in the fall and some games in the spring.
Okay.
I don't know what flying is. Wish I knew what that one was.
Spell it.
Flyin, Flyin. Fly-in.
Is there a hyphen in there?
No. It's flying. I don't know what that is. The rivalry one, I'm assuming that's all of the rivals. So you're Chicago,
Ooh, maybe
Blackhawks,
flying
or
is
Colorado.
like mascots that fly. So you get to see the Ducks.
Yeah.
You get to see the
Hawks.
The Hawks. You get no, because that's not a bird.
It really isn't, but let's pretend it is.
Okay.
And then there's a package, the weekday package. Hey, I play all. My kid plays youth hockey, and we play at tournaments. Then there's a weekend one. I think it's kind of cool. They have a different package for everybody's needs.
All right, I'm going to throw 3 numbers at you.
All right, let's hear it.
103, 12, 10, 11.
No idea.
Those were my season Wild tickets when I was a young man. Section
Really?
103, row
103.
12, seats 10 and 11.
103.
Yep,
Wow.
It was basically the red line, 12 rows up.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's really good.
We split them with my uncle, and we got a deal
that's
on
between
them
the blue line and the red line.
because they're supposed to be.
Is that behind the penalty box? I see.
Yes.
Yes.
So we got them before the Wild even touched the ice. We got them when they were still building the.
And you were probably a kid.
I was a small child, 7. And
No, you weren't. You were born in what year?
91.
Yeah, they didn't get here until 2000 or 2001.
It was 2000. It was the 2000-2001 season. So I was
Right.
like 8, but we got to go into the X when it was being built and see it and whatever. And there was supposed
And
to
you
be
could pick your seats too, kind of thing?
there was supposed to be a camera in that seating area, so they discounted the tickets enough to where my dad and my uncle thought, all right, if we split these, that would be great. So we had tickets until 04, 05 maybe.
So a few years, you got to experience it.
Oh yeah, I was
really
there
bad
for,
jerseys, the bad jersey years.
I love those
terrible.
jerseys. I had 3 of
Awful.
them. I had
They're
2
awful.
whites and a green, signed by Jim Dowd, Marion Gabrick, Wes Walls,
There you go.
and Steve McKenna. If you
Awesome.
want to go all the way back to the expansion roster.
Well, if you want to check out one of these 11-game packs, look them up at MinnesotaWild.com. You'll find them. Thank you for Minnesota Wild for supporting our programming.
You need to stay up out the streets if you can't take the heat. You need to stay up out the streets if you can't take the heat. Cause it get cold like Minnesota. Cold like Minnesota. Cold like Minnesota. Cold like Minnesota. Need to stay up out the streets if you can't take the heat.
I know I've said this a million times, but we got a lot to cover in a short time to get there.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell me to get off my phone, and I was like, no, I'm working sources right now.
No, yeah. I'm sure my phone, after the recent tweet I just put up, I'm sure my phone's going to blow up. So,
what did you just put out?
That there's a Section 6AA transfer from one school to another, boys high school, which I think will make high school hockey even more interesting this year. We'll get to high school hockey later on in our boys high school commits and our girls high school commits part of the show. But before we do that, let's talk a little summer hockey.
Yeah.
The AAA state tournament took place in early August, and we tag teamed that one. Todd was covering Bantam Elite League, so we kind of I thought we did a nice job that weekend with those 20 or so teams that played in AAA State.
I think it was 20 teams. It's not bad.
No. Next year it'll be much bigger. We'll have the Youth Elite League filling out the 32 teams in the AAA State tournament, which should be exciting. 8 organizations. We've all been kind of prepping for that. Kayla's made some nice videos. Congratulations to you, Kayla. People have really liked them. And we've done a nice job promoting the league, and they're really excited about it. So excited. We have so many organizations that want to join it. We have twice as many organizations who want to join it that we have room for. So 8 teams next year, 3 from the north. See if I can get this. Thieves, True North Warriors, and Northern Wings. And the Metro teams are SDP, Hometown Hockey, Minnesota Hockey Club, Lakers, and Blue Army. How's that? I nailed it. Got it.
Exhausted.
I'm excited for that league. I'm very excited for that league. Our MVPs from the AAA State Tournament, the McCoy O'Leary. There's a bunch of O'Learys. I think McCoy's a twin, and they have another brother as well who's younger. He's the kid who fell in the skate-ups. Remember the kid who fell?
It's like they've got their own youth hockey Tammany Hall here.
They do. And then at the 12s, we have the SDP, which made up many of the same kids who were on the Great Plains team who were runner-up in the show. Keaton Vistum was the MVP. He's an animal. He is an animal. I can't wait to see him at the Pumpkin. He'll be at the Pumpkin playing for STMA. I can't wait to see him play. And then the 11s was a Black Bear champion. I love when the Black Bears win. This was a lot of northern Minnesota kids. So your Tate Bergeson, True Sando,
11
Blake
skaters.
Walkers, 11 skaters, was coached by Rod Schwarzy, and his kid Dalton was on the team. They put together a nice little team. And then their goalie was the 2012 goalie from the Great Plains, Alamdar. And he was a 2012. He played up to 11s, and he was the MVP. Speaking of goalies, Nolan Johnson, who did quite well in our Now Prospects Combine last summer, he was the MVP of the 2010 Lakers win. I believe they beat SDP in that game.
7-0, a 4-goal second period for the Lakers. Nolan Johnson also had a very nice Bantam Elite League minor season.
Yes, good player. Again, another one of those kids we'll see this fall or this winter. All right, well, that wraps up some of the summer hockey. Now we get into the early fall youth hockey. We had the Pee Wee Challenge, which I was at, and you were gone. Where were you?
I was in Montana.
And what were you doing in Montana? Wedding?
Yeah.
Like a one-day thing.
I landed at 11:59 p.m. on Thursday night. No.
Yes.
Yeah, Thursday night. The wedding was on Friday, and I flew back Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, and you didn't even come see us.
No, I texted both you and Todd, and I said, hey, I can show up if you guys want me to.
And what did we say?
You said no.
Go away. We're good.
I looked at the schedule, and I thought there are 3 games on Sunday.
That was it.
That's not worth going to.
And we had Brennan, and we just knocked it out. Todd, Brennan, and I kind of knocked that thing out.
I walked around and looked at mountains, and you guys watched Red Lake Falls and Wyndham.
I love the jerseys. Which of the jerseys, by looking on the web and stuff, did you like the most?
Probably Red Lake Falls.
I loved Apple Valley because it said Valley on it. But the Browns didn't match. The jerseys and the socks didn't match up as well as we would have liked.
Brown's a tough color.
That was my point. I was talking to Isaac from Gemini. I'm like, we're idiots here, not the manufacturers, because there's a manufacturer for the sock and there's a manufacturer, obviously, for the jersey. Mm-hmm. And to get it exactly right would have been tricky. But in concept, that was the best-looking jersey. I love the Valley with the Apple Valley logo.
I like the Red Lake Falls.
I liked them all, actually, because I was part of the design, but I liked them all. But Valley was the one I was most excited about. Here are the MVPs. Owen Kraft. This is a player we're going to have to keep an eye on all year long from Moorhead. He was the runaway MVP. He wore a Wyndham jersey. And then Josie Nelson had a hat trick in the second half of the championship game, and she got the MVP. And I had a tweet, I think the next day, probably on Monday or Tuesday, but it was a tweet of Josie and her sister Lolo was also an MVP of the major Pee Wee Challenge, which I thought that was kind of cool. Sister act. And then the minor boys MVP was Braden Dean, co-MVP with Blake Nelson. Both of those kids were stars in the show as well. Blake's team won the Pee Wee Challenge. They won the Pee Wee Challenge, and he was a star in that game.
Wow. I was just over at the Dean house a couple of days ago.
Were you really?
I was.
What did you do there?
I picked up a hockey stick.
Oh, picked up?
I picked up a hockey
Why?
stick.
Was it a hand-me-down from Cameron or something?
No, but I should start doing that. That's a great
fantastic.
idea. I'm going to write that down. I'm going to start taking sticks from high school.
All these
youth
kids
players.
have outgrown. Like Cameron Dean probably has about 3 sticks he's outgrown, right?
He's got more than that. Dude.
Yeah, and you could use
They
them
have a
'cause-
broken window in their garage.
Yeah. Oh
I'm
my
pretty
gosh.
sure
Permanently.
out of that
broken.
brood,
Yeah.
I'm assuming it was one of the boys who broke. Oh, it could have been Rich too. I mean, maybe Rich broke it.
I did get word though that their daughter, the youngest, is not playing hockey.
Yeah.
So there you go.
You know, mom and dad might have said, "Oh," and
too
then
bad.
nudge each other and thought,
She's in
"Wow,
gymnastics.
We're gonna save so much money." This
No,
year.
she's in gymnastics. They're going to go
Oh,
broke.
is that worse?
That's worse.
Is it worse?
Way worse. Yeah.
What do you got to
way
pay
worse.
for in gymnastics?
When my daughters, they didn't do competitive gymnastics. When they did gymnastics at a legit gymnastics studio, it was as much as Jake's, or much more than Jake's. So 1 year of uncompetitive gymnastics, where they just went 3 days a week,
Yeah.
was more expensive than Jake's hockey bill.
That's ridiculous.
And there's no ice.
That's
just a gym.
ridiculous.
Yeah, it's
And a sawhorse. No, not a
Exactly.
sawhorse.
And some rings.
Is it called a sawhorse?
And what's the little thing you jump off of? That was pretty cool.
Research department is it
Oh,
called?
here we
A
go. What's it called?
sawhorse?
Vault.
that what you're
Yeah, the
talking about?
vault.
Sawhorse.
Sawhorse, isn't that
The horse. That's a pommel horse, not
for
the
men?
sawhorse. A
Oh,
sawhorse
that's
is
only
when
for
you do
men.
this, and pommel horse would be a little,
Pommel horse is men.
which is weird.
That's where you swing around
yeah.
from your.
Why couldn't a woman do
Okay.
that?
I don't know. They have different events. They
I
don't.
know.
Women don't do the
Rings.
rings.
They could do the rings. They'd be probably better
I
at
think
rings.
they just have different events. I
Simone
don't think
Biles
I don't
can
think,
do whatever
pretty
she
I
wants.
don't
easy.
think they're saying, "Oh, well, men don't do the freaking bars."
They
or
shouldn't do the bars. If you know what I mean. That's the only event where it's just a male female
I
pretty
don't
easily.
know what I mean. What you mean?
What?
The bars?
What are you
The
looking at me
uneven
for?
bars?
Yeah. Why could a man not do that?
Hello. Hello. Book this moment. Do I need to explain to you why we don't do the bars?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not going to do
You
it
can
on the
explain
show.
to me later.
I'm not going to do the show.
Are you
Ah.
talking?
They don't
Ow.
do that.
Ow. Ooh.
Oh.
Ah, yeah.
They don't really do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not doing the bars. I'll do the single bar, but
Yeah.
not the
Oh, they
uneven.
do the
They
single bar.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That's the only thing.
That's what I was thinking
That's the
of.
only gymnastics event I could think of is the uneven bars, where it's like, okay, but why couldn't a woman do the pommel horse? That's kind of cool.
I mean, they can.
She's drawing a pumpkin right now. She's not paying
I
attention. to this.
Do men do the vault one where they jump off the horse and do the flipping, or is it
I
just
think they do.
I don't know.
Sawhorse?
This is turning the youth
Gymnastics hub. All right, moving on.
Yes.
All
please,
right,
God.
you were at the Fall Classic, and I was
was at
in
the Fall
North
Classic.
Carolina watching the Gopher football team get beat by 20 points.
Yeah, at least I had a legitimate reason for not being at the Pee Wee Challenge.
What do you mean? Spending
You
time
went
with
out
my
there to
wife
watch
and,
Drake May absolutely carve up the Golden Gophers.
and you got which was a thing of beauty. You got to see mountains,
well,
and I got to see North Carolina's campus. I got to see Duke's campus, and I got to see North Carolina State's campus. I'm going to give you this little trivia.
okay.
You've probably heard of Tobacco Road. You've heard of the Research Triangle. Those two terms, you heard those before?
I've heard of Tobacco Road Research,
the Research
Triangle.
Triangle.
I'm assuming it's UNC, Duke, and Wake Forest.
No, NC State, UNC, and Duke.
They don't do any research at NC State.
They do. It's a beautiful campus.
That's for the farmers.
So here we get there, and so we're done with the game, and Sunday, like, what do you want to do? I'm like, I want to go see Duke, and I want to go see NC State. Okay. So they drove us. It would be the equivalent. NC State would be the equivalent of University of Minnesota, like size and the biggest school of them all.
Interesting.
And Duke would be like the equivalent of like Andover. It's like 25, 35 minutes away.
Okay.
And then to drive from Andover to Maple Grove would be where North Carolina is. It's that close. We got in the car, drove, and I was like, wow, we're here already? That's cool. So, yeah, Tobacco Road in Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina is a really cool place to visit and see the schools. I got to see Cameron Indoor Arena and Duke University, North Carolina, University of North Carolina. It was cool. It was fun. It was a fun trip. We saw some friends and had a lot of laughs. Just the football game wasn't what it should have been. What were we hoping for?
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to your other trip.
Well, we're still here in the
Fall Classic. Sorry, we'll do Fall Classic Youth, and then we'll go to Fall Classic
I just let you go on a
USHL.
diatribe about Tobacco Road
and gymnastics.
The former employer of Mike Kruzewski, the basketball coach. So I want to talk
Let's
a
hear
little
about
bit
the Fall
about
Classic.
Pretty sure Ariana Swardini set a scoring record, 2 scoring records. She had 7 goals in the Jets' first game.
Well, that's a record.
18 for the tournament.
18 goals?
18 goals for the
Holy
tournament.
smokes.
And her team actually got put into running time.
In the championship.
In the second half. The Bengals over the Jets, 7-2.
In the championship,
and I came running down after doing the broadcast, and I said, Swardini's the MVP, and I looked at Brad, and I was like, I don't have a choice.
You don't.
She scored 18 goals in 4 games. Like, I can't not give it to Ariana Swardini. She was the MVP of our girls minor division, boys minor MVP, Nick Schlegel. I love tournaments where the MVP is somebody that I don't know.
I don't know that name.
Love it. Nick Schlegel
Tell
was
me about
our
him.
MVP. He had 2 goals in the championship game, and he played just really solid for Miami.
What
Dolphins.
Miami?
Dolphins
Do you
over
remember
the
who coached
Panthers.
the Miami team?
Don Shula.
Really? That's good.
Yeah,
That's great. He came out of retirement.
Yeah.
Did Miami go undefeated?
I thought he was dead. I don't remember.
They had the only undefeated season. Get it? The Dolphins in 72, 17-0.
That was way before my time.
All right.
Panthers over the Jets in the girls' major division. MVP of that one, Vivian Vogel.
I've heard of her.
Choice. Choosing between Adriana Stevens, Vivian Vogel.
Were they on the same team?
Yes, and they had a line mate. Her name is escaping me right now. I feel really bad about that.
Was it
Addie Jensen? Yep.
Yeah.
So Jensen, Vogel, and Stevens were all on the same line, and they all finished kind of close in points. And I remember on the broadcast, I said, one of these players is going to get left off the initial all-tournament team, just numbers-wise.
Have 3 forwards,
just numbers-wise. But the one who was left off the initial all-tournament team will make the official all-tournament team.
Yes.
So
who was it? Was it Stevens?
It was Addie Jensen.
She got left off the day of.
She got left off the day of. Stevens and Vogel were on the day of. I'm pretty sure I drew names out of a hat.
I had the opportunity to coach Vivian and Addie this summer in Anaheim, and they were both all-tournament team there as well. I think Vivian had like 15 goals in 5 games.
That's not a
crazy.
Surprise.
Absolutely crazy.
Not a
She's
surprise.
a talented player, and she'll be back for Team Minnesota again, and so will Addie. That 2013, all the teams next year for Team Minnesota will be loaded. I'm excited to see the progress of our organization.
Start building the trophy case right now.
Yes.
Boys major division, Panthers over the Jets, 3-2 in overtime.
Was the MVP of that
Cal Casey.
Oh,
was
that's
the
right.
MVP of that one.
So, I'm in North Carolina, keep an eye on this, and then I see that Cal Casey got his that was probably the only really FOMO I had from that tournament was seeing Cal Casey be MVP because he's such a fun kid. Oh, my God, I love that kid.
He had the overtime game winner in that one. If you want to be MVP in a championship game, it's probably helpful to score in overtime to win.
That helps.
Said championship game.
Well, with his brother Carter getting all of the glory, being the Bantam MVP, I think he was our best goalie in the combine, Bantam Elite MVP, YHH goalie of the year. He's seen his fair share of, glory.
And you didn't get to see him at the Bantam AA state tournament, did you?
I saw him. No,
I was there for that first game.
You saw that game, but I
OMG,
saw him in the semis. I saw him in the semis. I was there on Saturday. But it's fun. I got to meet Cal at the Stars of Tomorrow. Fun kid. And then when Carter won, I made sure when I talked to the Casey parents, I go, you need to get Carter out of school. I mean, what's Cal? I need to get Cal out of school. He needs to come down and see our podcast studio because he would love it. And I got my picture taken with them and the whole deal. So I love Cal and excited he got to be MVP of that tournament.
Yeah, fun family.
What's next, boss?
I think we're moving on to juniors.
All right.
The USHL
You got to
Fall
go
Classic.
to, how many years in a row is this for you?
This is my third.
So you went in
This is my
21,
third Fall
22, and
Classic.
23. Obviously, they probably didn't have it in 20.
Yep.
So you've been there 3 years in a row. Is anything different
have.
over these 3 years, or is it cut and paste? Same thing?
Like personally or?
Not personally, but like the event, hockey-wise, is it just still...
Hockey-wise, I think it's fairly cut and paste, which is,
Is it-
fine.
is
It
it-
doesn't
is
need a wrinkle. It really
no,
doesn't.
but is it better? Was the hockey better this time, or is it all about the same for each 3 years?
The hockey was all about the same for the 3 years. At the youth level, I thought it was really, really good. There are a couple of teams that don't make it out there.
Right.
Chicago Mission is the biggest one that sticks out to me.
Shattuck, right?
Shattuck isn't there either.
Right.
So Shattuck and Mission are pretty much never there. So Mount St. Charles is a favorite in every
Are the Gulls
youth.
there? Long Island Gulls? That seems to be the hot new team as
I
well.
don't think the Long Island Gulls are there.
All right. And there's Minnesota teams too, right?
There were a couple. They're never as good as you want them to be because they send 2 teams, which is great because it means more kids get to go out
Opportunity,
there
yep.
and get to play, but it also, waters down
Correct.
the team. I didn't get to watch any of the Minnesota teams except for a random Blades U16 game.
And they were out
They
there
played
too.
Dallas,
Oh,
and
cool.
they had a game right before my flight, so I ran over there for a game. The mistake that I've made in the past is trying to get to the youth games more than the USHL games, which is
Right.
impossible because they play at 4 different arenas that are 40 minutes apart.
Correct.
And you drive yourself nuts trying to get to these different games. Whereas if you go to the UPMC
Stay at the
Lemieux, you
UCHL.
stay there, you
Yep.
get everybody you could possibly need.
Yeah, I liked it. I saw your pictures. We've already
Yep.
used some of your pictures in our editorial stuff.
Yeah.
Kids who committed and stuff like that.
I should say
Exciting.
thank you to everybody who helped out and responded to interview requests and whatnot.
How many total interviews did you and Kayla publish? 3?
5?
5.
No, we didn't get to 5.
How
We
do
got
you pronounce
4.
Bezgins? Buskins?
Buskins.
The G is silent. It's a K, right?
Yes.
Buskins.
And
So you had Buskins. You had
Bryn
Bryn
Chizik.
Chizik.
Yep.
Scotty Bell.
Yep.
Okay. Who are the other 2?
Ryan Hardy did a regular
Ryan
interview.
Hardy has been interviewed on YHH?
Ryan Ward.
Oh, Ryan Ward.
We have interviewed Ryan Hardy, though.
Okay, Ryan Ward.
Ryan Ward, the Youngstown head coach.
Okay, yes, I remember that one. And
Yep.
then who was the 5th?
There was supposed to be one. And
Oh, and you got stood up.
I got stood up for that
Oh,
one,
you did
man.
Lindbergh. You did
Yeah, Garrett Lindbergh.
Garrett Lindbergh. No,
Gavin
Gavin
Lindbergh,
Lindbergh.
sorry.
I've interviewed him too.
Yep. That
And I've
one,
coached him.
He was ready for that one. I also got to say hello to Matt Smaby, which was probably the
Really?
highlight of my trip. And I reminded him that he was my camp counselor 20 years ago. And he wrote me a very nice little report card afterwards. And he gave me so much confidence going into my next year of youth hockey.
What a guy.
And he was nice enough to nod along and smile at me. And I was kind of like, you have no idea what I'm talking about right now, do you?
He has no idea.
The overall takeaway I would take from the hockey side of the USHL Fall Classic, and this is going to be so disappointing to so many people, nobody knows anything. And that was the vibe I got, and that was the answer I got from everyone I talked to, GMs, assistant GMs, player personnel, scouts, coaches, players. The Fall Classic is so early in the season. Nobody knows what these teams are going to look like in a week, in
Right.
2 weeks.
Yep.
Until the
And
Minnesota high
and
school season starts, they have no idea what their lineups are going to look
And the
like.
NHL scouts don't know anything about these players either. So that's kind of their first. There's a lot of unknown.
It is certainly a getting your feet wet type of weekend, which is why I'm very leery of outlets that start publishing things like,
Yes.
who is the best at the Fall Classic? Like, okay. It's got nothing to do with the rest of the season.
Well, and part of it's like you and I talked off air about some players, whether they were good or needed help or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, but in 2 months they could actually have, figured out how to play in the USHL.
Yeah, and I'll use Jaden Veeney as an example. Jaden's making a big jump from John Marshall to the USHL, and I got to watch him play a couple of times. And he looks the part, man. He looks great, but like a lot of younger players, it's
more mental than physical. Yeah.
This is a faster game. You got to go like this. You don't get to catch the puck, look up, survey the scene, and then get rid of it. You need to know exactly where you're going with the puck. And Jaden and a lot of these first-time guys in the junior league, they got to catch up. I mean, that's not a knock on any player. It's a faster game. I mean, come on.
And it's bigger, too. So much bigger.
It's rougher. There's more after the whistle than in high school hockey for sure. And it's Buskins had the same deal. He's playing, was he top
Green
4
Bay?
when I was out there? Yeah, they love him. But he was another one who the puck drops and it's like, oh boy, this is a little bit faster than what I'm used
high
to.
school.
So it'll be cool to see how those guys grow into their roles.
And they're already starting to grow into them. I published the USHL scoring leaders. There's a lot of Minnesota kids. Cody Kroll was number 1.
Captain of the Muskegon Lumberjacks.
Cody Kroll's number 1 in Minnesota, out of the Minnesota Borns.
Yep.
All right. Any final thoughts on the Fall Classic before we move on to some college stuff?
It's a great event. If you have the chance to go, I would highly recommend it.
Do I have to go sometime and replace you?
I don't think you should replace me because I think I would.
You really like it?
No, because I think I would get a lot more done than you would.
Ooh, oh, there's a shot.
I am able to walk into a rink and find a dark corner and set up my computer and my laptop and get photos and do all that stuff. There would be too many people that there.
Yes. Yes.
That
I would be lost. And there's nowhere to hide either. It doesn't strike me as a kind of rink where you could hide. I'm looking, where would I hide? I couldn't hide anywhere.
There's no back door to get in. You have to go in through the front door because you have to show your media pass.
Yeah, I would not.
And then there's 2 entrances to the rink. And
I would get nothing done.
That's what I'm saying.
I would get nothing done.
I'm saying, like, I can sneak in and get my stuff done. And even I run into 15, 20.
There's still certain venues where I can go cover and get a lot done. Like the final Frozen Four in Boston. Oh man, I had my own room. None of the media people there knew me. I just worked, grind, tweet. I was extremely efficient at the Frozen Four because there was no distractions. The only distraction was the lobby and like, okay, head down. Yep. When I had to work my way through the lobby, just like at state high school tournament, I'm like, all right, I got to avoid the lobby as much as I possibly can because I can't get stuff. And it doesn't mean I don't want to talk to people.
But if we're going to get everything done that we need to get done, slowing down and talking. There were some fruitful conversations, I'll say.
You've told me. I can't wait to hear more of them. All right, speaking of lobbies, I was in the lobby last Friday night for the St. Thomas, Minnesota game. And if you'd have told me before the game, let's say 2:30, you would have said, yeah, one of these games is going to overtime, and one of these games is going to be an 8-goal blowout, I would have said men will get blown out, and St. Thomas women will push the Gophers into uncomfortable zone.
Yep.
And it was just the opposite. What would you like to know about the game, about the press conference, about my thoughts, Peter? Ask away.
I watched some of the women's game. And I don't know if I'm going to get a different opinion from what I saw from you.
Okay. Give me your opinion.
St. Thomas has brought in a wildly talented freshman class.
Yes.
100%. But it was, I think I used this in my recap. Was it a rude awakening? No, it was growing pains. Because they played Franklin Pierce.
They killed them.
Before, and St. Thomas is 4-0 coming in, and now you see how the big girls play. There's a jump here, but that's what you get. It's a young team. St. Thomas is young.
Can I say something that might be unpopular opinion?
Yeah,
I think those new hot teams, as much as I love them, I'll probably be stricken down. I think that's kind of a Division III. If a mid-level WCHA team like St. Thomas can easily sweep you,
yep.
That's not Division I.
Yeah.
I
think at this very moment.
Does it mean I'm not still excited about Nuha? I love Nuha. It's giving girls opportunities to giving a chance, right?
And they're still young, too. And frankly,
Yes.
and not just young in terms of hockey. I mean, Franklin Pierce doesn't have the donor base that St. Thomas does.
Oh, no.
The infrastructure is younger. So for some of these teams, Franklin Pierce, Long Island, Post.
Long Island did really well last year. Killed everybody in that league. They just lost this weekend.
You're going to go through some growing pains.
Yeah, they'll get there, though. They'll get there. There's plenty of good hockey players.
Yeah, Franklin Pierce hung with St. Thomas in the game I saw until the very
good.
end.
Good. Okay, good. Here's my thoughts on St. Thomas men. I was really impressed with their top 9. I mean, your Luke Mannings, Liam Malmquist, Matt Gleason, Jake Bersini. They got some horses there. They're gonna compete in the CCHA this year. I don't think they're gonna win the league, but it's gonna be no night off for if you have St. Thomas. It's not gonna be an easy game.
Mm-hmm.
I think you saw the 2 worst teams in the CCHA play, Bowling Green and Augustana, and Augustana swept them. How cool is that? That Augustana, gets shut out by Wisconsin the weekend before, and then they come home and play at Sioux Falls USHL rink, Sanford Center, and they get 2 wins over Bowling Green. I mean, Garrett's got it rolling already, doesn't he?
Yeah, we'll see. They're going to play Denver on Friday.
Oh.
They're going to play Denver and then Colorado College, Michigan Tech, Lindenwood, Omaha, Northern Michigan. They won't face a top 5 team, I don't think, the rest of the way.
Right.
I mean, maybe Notre Dame, if Notre Dame sneaks into that top 5, which I don't think they will.
And I don't know when it happens, but eventually I will. I've always said this. Eventually, when the new building opens, we will be there. You and I will be in Augustana, Sioux Falls area.
Not a big fan of South Dakota as a state.
We will be there, and we'll do a podcast with Garrett. Garrett's already said, when he said to me twice, when are you coming? I'm like, when the building opens. So
when you're not playing Lindenwood.
Well, no, I want to talk to him about the year that took place, getting it built and everything it did to build a program. It'll be a fun podcast to do with him and catch up with him. He's such a great guy. It's fun to watch him grow because we knew him as an assistant at the U. Now we're seeing him kind of become a man. You know,
there's so much that I don't think people think about when building a program.
Yeah,
Who schedules the buses?
It's going to be
gets
fun.
our hotel rooms?
It's
Who
going to
gets
be
the
fun.
post-game
It's fun
snack?
to learn all that. And we're going to get to do the same, oddly enough, with Natalie in the next 2 months. She's like, when are we doing a pod? I'm like, when you get a name and when you get some of the stuff in stone, it's going to be way better to talk. It's a way better story than talking about it now. What's the name of your team? I don't know. Where are you going to play it? I don't know. You know, who's going to be on the team? I don't know. When some of those I don't knows become more in stone, then we'll get Natalie on for a pod as well.
Well, they just released training camp rosters.
Yep, I saw that.
Name thing you might be waiting on for a little while. There's some legality issues
with
logos and colors and nicknames.
I did learn this though, and maybe you watched more of the draft than I did. We didn't even talk about that here. That's not on our agenda.
Boy.
But what I did, and maybe you could confirm this: are we Minnesota going to be purple? Do we have purple jerseys?
I have no idea.
I thought
their primary color was released. And
yeah,
it's like
purple.
It's like a dark blue with a purplish.
So more of like a
hint.
plumish.
I don't think plum. I think it's more blue than purple.
Really?
I think it's
Is
like
it the one on the logo?
It's like a deep navy with purple hints.
Okay.
All
right.
Deep navy with purple hints.
That's the scientific name.
A weird
for
color.
That color.
Well, okay. I can't really visualize what that looks like. But I've seen is it the same that's on the logo for the
it's
PWHL?
on there. All of
For
the
Twitter?
PWHL Twitters
Have different
changed
colors?
their colors
Awesome.
to their main primary
So
color.
I did know that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. But they didn't announce this during the draft, which you watched, Peter.
I did.
And they didn't say anything about team colors on that draft, did they?
No, but that
you're aware of.
I have a recording with the Mark Walter who mentioned the legal issues.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's well documented. I mean, imagine trying to get something copyrighted in 3 months. If you know anything about copyright law, that's not easy to do. So,
I'll say this: the production of the draft was
10 out of 10.
Out freaking
10 out of 10.
standing. For one thing, I was able to watch it on YouTube. It was not paywalled behind anything. I didn't need a separate streaming service for it.
Amen.
It was on YouTube. I could literally fire it up on YouTube.
Preach on. I agree with that.
It was fantastic.
And I've had, and you and I have probably talked about this. We aren't going to make a lot of fans with this statement, but I'm not a big Leah Hextall fan. right?
Okay.
I don't think she's a good play-by-play broadcaster. And it's not because I do play-by-play. It's because I've watched play-by-play sports my whole life, and I think she's one of the worst I've ever heard of, right? Now, what that feels like is it feels sexist, right? Like, oh, yeah, you don't like her because she's a woman. I'm like, no, I just don't like the way she delivers a game. I don't like her voice. I don't like anything about her. However, I say that in one breath because the women who did the U18 Worlds in Madison on TSN were better.
AJ Maleska.
Unbelievable.
AJ Maleska.
They were so
really
good. I was like, can I have them do every game, male and female? Because I liked how they delivered the game. It was so, they explained the game. They did a great job. They did the research. You could tell they were well put together. You know,
outside of that, outside of your comment about Leah Hextall, I think that play-by-play across the board is down. Watching the ESPN Plus streams of NHL games.
Is it?
And I don't know why that is, and I'm not saying I'm good at play-by-play,
No.
but I know what good play-by-play sounds like.
Correct.
And we're losing some longtime play-by-play guys. You know, Rick Jenneret passed away. The voice of the Sabres, I think it was the voice of the Flames, is retiring now. Doc Emmerich's been done for a couple of years
well,
now.
that's the gold standard, right?
He's
the gold standard.
Yeah, but
opinion.
I don't know how many play-by-play hopefuls coming up through the ranks, now, would do what Doc Emmerich did and take a tape recorder to a minor league game and practice every night at getting better and getting faster and getting...
My first year doing play-by-play, I practiced. I would turn the sound down on games.
You should practice.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, my God. Play-by-play is hard.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to be good at it.
Hard.
I did get a compliment today, Peter, from a guy who was trying to hire us to do some games, and his exact words, are we going to get you and Peter to do the games, or are we going to get one of your other people who knows nothing about the players? I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, when you and Peter do a game, there's some integrity to the broadcast because you know the players, you know their backstory, you know everything about them, you can pronounce their names. You have a way more in-depth delivery than just your average guy that we hire off the street. I was like, well, thank you very much. I think we do a nice job broadcasting these games, and we know the kids, and we know their parents, and we know the coaches, and we know all that stuff. But part of it's we've been there all weekend, right?
Well,
so by the time we get to the championship game, I'm like, all right, I've consumed a lot about all these players already.
Yeah.
And some of it's just like you and I, we do research before the game. We do the leading scorers and see their past games.
Oh, yeah.
That's just kind of part of how you broadcast a game, I think. So,
well, there are so many YouTube videos where broadcasters take you behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And if you look at a seasoned broadcaster's board and every note, every stat, every name, every. Speaking of pronunciations, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How do you pronounce from Grand Rapids, Hunter, Jake, Lucky? How do you pronounce their
Bischoff?
Okay.
How else would you pronounce
I'm pretty sure that the broadcast of the Augustana game, it was like Bischoff or something.
No, that was Vachon as his line mate.
Okay.
V-A. I thought the same thing, too.
Because I thought he was calling him Bischoff.
I looked it up. Nope, it's Vachon. They have a V-A-C-H-O-N, Vachon, on the team.
It's not Calvin, because Calvin's a goalie. It's another Vachon, whatever.
Yeah, it was a forward.
Okay, pronunciations is something you should get, even as the most.
All right, let's wrap up college. We talked about men's, a little bit women's, men's, talked about them. Let's talk about the big series this weekend, Minnesota, North Dakota. I'll be in Arizona, and probably the second thing I do after saying, thank God my plan landed, is where can I find the game to watch UND and Minnesota? Because it's such a fun series to watch those two schools play. You have a lot of history as a UND fan. What are your thoughts on this weekend?
I'm a huge UND fan, by the way, Fighting Sioux.
Yes.
I don't have a ton of thoughts on this. North Dakota is always kind of a mixed bag until the middle of this season.
Right.
North Dakota is always the team that goes 25-15 and then runs the table in the spring because they're seasoned and what have you. Right. Minnesota, you still got Jimmy Snuggerud, who's quickly They did a redraft of the 2022 draft on the Athletic, and he
His would
shot
go up.
way
His would
up.
go way up the
where
way he shoots the puck.
He would have been redrafted in like the top 10 or something.
Could you see? Let's rip on Jimmy a little bit. Could you see
why
Jimmy
would I rip on
Snuggerud on
Jimmy?
the St. Louis Blues shooting? Because he's basically. Did you see that quote I quoted of Bob Motzko? He's got the green light on 3-0. You know,
Yeah.
He used the baseball reference, which I thought was just a really great
You
quote
can
from
shoot
Bob.
whenever he wants.
He just shoots whenever the heck he wants. Could you imagine if he gets the puck and just starts firing it in the NHL? How some analytics guy or some assistant coach or some, scout, advanced scout is going to say, Snugger, you can't do that, Could you see that happening?
Well, yeah, because
I could see it
can't.
happening. He's going to shoot. He's going to always shoot from anywhere. He's always been that
which
way.
is fine.
Well,
It's-
so you
it's
agree?
fine.
So you agree that he shouldn't shoot from everywhere?
I think he shouldn't change who he is as a player because it's gotten him this far. But I
Right.
would not be surprised. Obviously, you're going to see it with Connor Bedard too, who's always been a shoot first player.
Yes.
Watching the Blackhawks a couple of times, I mean, he is shooting every time he's got the puck. And I don't think Jimmy Snuggerud has Connor Bedard's shot. So no, it would not surprise me if
I think it's close.
If a coach said, "Jimmy, you got to pick your spots better."
I think it's close. I
But
think
that's the
Jimmy's a
difference
great
between college
shooter.
hockey and pro hockey, though.
It's going to be interesting to see that one. I don't think the Gophers win a game this weekend up in Grand Forks.
You don't think so?
Well, I think Kester's out. I think Mason
They're missing
Nevers
a
is
ton
out.
of guys, aren't they?
And I think I'm hearing through the grapevine, the rumor mill, that Chesley might be out. So with their two top D missing, I think the Gophers are going to get run off the ice this
And
weekend.
to my knowledge, I don't think North Dakota has any notable injuries.
And they haven't. They've just steamrolled everybody.
Yeah,
So,
according to Kyle McLaughlin,
yeah.
the team will potentially be without Mike Kester, Mason Nevers, Ryan Chesley, and Nathan Airy.
Oh, their goalie's already hurt, huh?
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, they're going to be hurting. They're going to be hurting. Is that in our weekly preview of
That
this
is in
weekend?
bullet points.
Love
our
it.
Men's bullet
Love
points.
it. Love that. Love having content for college hockey. It's our big month. October is our big college hockey month. Obviously, Elite League is kind of, we'll get to that in a minute. But for us, covering college, getting all those pictures, our Summit Scores has been a big hit from a reader's perspective. And here's a few that kind of jumped off the page at me last weekend. Here's one for you from last weekend. On Friday, I think we set a record. We had 32 Minnesota men score on Friday. And here's a couple, and three of them had game winners. Cruz, Lucius, Rode, and Snuggerud all scored in overtime on Friday night. Ben Steve seems to be the hot one. You wrote about him, didn't you?
He is, I mentioned him.
Yeah.
He is the highest scoring Minnesota product because he's not from Minnesota. He's not a Minnesota native.
I like the word product for
But
him.
he is the highest scoring Minnesota product among Division I men. You know who's at the top of the leaderboard right now for scoring?
For Division I men's?
Yeah.
Oof, no idea.
It's Rutger McGroarty.
Stop it.
He's got 9 points in 4
Not
games.
surprised. Not surprised. Speaking of Michigan, Garrett Shifsky has had a good start for the Wolverines, the Andover product.
When did he end up at Michigan?
He was like kind of a Colgate guy, I think, at first, and then he decommitted and became Michigan, obviously, last year, and then became a Wolverine this fall. So
Well, we'll see what Elite Prospects has to tell us.
here's a guy. Here's a few guys that had multiple point games. Who you know every one of them. Jackson Blake had a multiple goal game. Brody Lamb, Cruz we already talked about. A lot of guys getting multiple points. Lucas Wallen had a pair of goals in that Gopher game. It's fun to see all these kids doing well. Here's a blast from the past. Carter Batchelder scored for Lake Superior State. Brett Chorsky scored for Colgate. Fun to see all these names.
Was he always at Colgate?
No, he was Colorado College, so he transferred.
Oh, they both transferred. No, because Batch didn't make it to Colorado College.
He never
right?
made it.
He switched to Lake Superior.
Yep. And then on the women's side, I love looking at the Cornells. You get the Lily DeLandis and Izzy Daniel. Seems like every week one of those two scores. And then Jane Keel and Annie Keel scored passing to one another.
Okay.
I love when you get that. We had the same in the women's Gopher game. We had Audrey and Madeline Wethington pass and score with one another. I love that little combination. So we're throwing out a lot of different schools here, a lot of different backgrounds. It's fun to see how well these kids are doing at the college level.
Oh, yeah.
But they cut their teeth playing boys and girls high school hockey. You want to start with boys or you want to start with girls?
Oh, man. I think we got more to go on with. Actually, I don't know what we have more to go on with.
Well, do you have your list of commits?
I do. I have a list of commits.
Want to list off? I don't have much for the boys. I've been keeping track of the boys Elite League, but not going to boys high school Elite League. But we've seen a lot of those kids who are playing in the Elite League who are now committing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to give me that boys list of commitments recently?
Yep, this is everybody in October to the best of my knowledge. I'm sure there's at least one or two players in there that I'm going to miss here. Noah Ernest committed to St. Cloud State, Mason Kraft and Jack Kernan to Minnesota State, along with Will Distad. Ryder Betzold committed to Arizona State, Drew Roloffs to St. Thomas, and Paul Anderson to Maine.
Love that.
There's that Long Island Gulls influence right there.
Yeah, he's playing there right now, but I heard he's coming back to Benilde to confirm that. He's coming back.
That's weird.
Yeah. So, we'll see on that one.
Ooh, is that a trend? You think it's a trend? Do you think players will start doing more before and afters?
Before and after with Tier 1? Yeah, if they'll let them, sure.
Interesting.
I'm sure, yeah.
It's one way to extend your season.
Yes.
On the girls' side, Abby Brose and Addison Andre have verbaled to Franklin Pierce, Ellie Newpower to St. Michael's College, Nora Hannon and Tegan Kuhlenkamp to St. Thomas, Ruby Rauk to Quinnipiac, Ellie Zakrajcek to Minnesota Duluth, and Josie Skugman to Cornell.
Those are good lists, Peter. Good work. You dug all those up. Nice work.
I scrolled through our Twitter feed.
Speaking of girls' high school hockey, the long-awaited Johnny Chrissy poll became fruition a couple Saturdays ago. What are your thoughts on that? That's it. Just a little grumble.
And on one hand, I do feel a great deal of sympathy.
I do too.
Because they had a coach and
two
now
coaches.
They don't have a coach.
They had two coaches.
Two coaches. And to my knowledge, they were caught off guard by the departure of Natalie Darwitz and Jake Bobrowski. So at this point of the game, you don't have a ton of time to go through a full vetting process of a coach. So I guess it makes sense that they would both take over, but
yeah, here's my question. They're both employees of Hill Murray High School. Full-time employees, right?
If you're the athletic director and the girls' high school head hockey coach, who fires you?
Good question.
Does it have to be like the president of the school?
Is
it the nuns next door? Do the nuns wander over from the monastery?
Or maybe he never gets fired. Maybe he's there until he's 68 years old.
If he has any luck, he'll be there as long as Bill Lechner has been there.
If he's there, let's see. Let's take a bet. Do you think Johnny and Christy will be there longer than this year, or this will just be kind of an interim and then they'll get a regular coach for next year?
Depends on how the season goes.
Really?
Depends on how the
this
season
is
goes.
fun. This is fun. This is totally
depends on how the season
this is
goes.
Off the script. I think that they're going to hire another coach next year.
I would love to get Johnny and Chrissy in here because I have so many questions.
We could do it.
I have so many questions.
Wonder if
Johnny has to respond to my email first.
Interview request. That would be fun.
That would be really fun.
That would be a lot of fun. We would have 4 headsets. Could we have enough cameras? Crazy thought. Let's go for it.
Give Kayla the corporate card and
we'll
find out.
Get 4 of these? 2 more?
The resume's unimpeachable for sure.
Yeah, no question.
It's a program that has never won fewer than 15 games in the last however many years, and they're on their 4th.
They'll be good this year.
They're going to be really friggin' good. They're going to be really good next year. They're going to be really good the year after that.
If this is the year they don't go, it's because Stillwater has such a seasoned, team.
I think seasoned or not, I think Hill Murray's got
is better than Hill already.
Well, Hill Murray's also seasoned too. I mean, Chloe Boreen is finally into her massive production stage here. She's no longer just the fly-by-night freshman.
Yes, so she's very good.
They got a good team too, man.
All right. Speaking of teams, our team will be putting on Friday Night Ice this year. We have 2. I didn't say 3, although I have 3 in mind. I have 2 games that are confirmed. Are you ready for these?
Yeah.
November 17th, we have a sold-out Orono Ice Arena, Morrison Ice Arena, and the Spartans, the preseason number 1, will be hosting their rivals, Mound Westonka. I'm sure you like the sound of that game.
That's Class A, right?
Class A girls high school hockey, yes.
I don't know if they're the preseason number 1.
They are. I've already decided that. They are the preseason number 1. You can't take that from me.
We'll find out.
You cannot take that from me.
Yes, I can.
Okay. Orono, Mount Westonka. It's youth night at the rink. All the players from both sides of Orono, Mount Westonka Youth Association will be there. I'm excited for that one. That's November 17th. December 22nd, we will travel. Our whole team will travel to Thief River Falls, Minnesota. You've been there. I have as well, both for a section final.
Yep.
This will be East Grand Forks, preseason number 1, taking on Warroad, probably preseason number 2, or maybe 3, probably 2. 1 versus 2 preseason in the Little Ralph. What do you think of that? The Friday before Christmas.
I don't know if East Grand Forks is the preseason number 1.
They have the best talent. There's no question they do.
St. Cloud Cathedral.
Really? I don't think Cathedral's deep enough to beat either of those 2 teams.
Probably not.
I don't think they're. I think they're going to be good though.
Dude,
they're definitely
I don't know.
top 5.
I haven't looked at any.
I'm glad
high
you brought it
school
up. Though. I think they're
roster.
top 5 for sure.
It's not even Halloween.
I know. They're definitely top 5. Speaking of our team, we will also be doing our first ever Division I hockey game on a broadcast. We were asked by Maple Grove Girls Hockey Association to broadcast their U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame game between University of St. Thomas and Minnesota State. What do you think of that, Peter Odney?
That we're doing a D1 game?
Yeah.
Yeah, haters.
I think it's kind of cool. I think it's really cool. I don't think it'll be our last Division I hockey game that makes our platform. As we grow with our great team of videographers, photographers, our talent level every year gets better. Our delivery gets better. I'm excited that we'll have this opportunity and we can showcase our efforts to maybe do another Division I men's or women's game in the future. What do you think of that?
I'm all right with it.
You're all right with that?
Yeah, I'm all right with it.
I think I'm all right with it, too.
I probably got to get a haircut. Should probably shave.
You might not even be there.
Why wouldn't I be there?
Because it's the night before the
Are you,
Blue Ox
are you
starts.
firing me on air?
No, it's the night before the Blue Ox starts. Someone's got to be in Moorhead getting ready for a 7:30 first game Friday morning.
Dude, I hate that Thursday night.
Oh, it's brutal. I'm going to drive up at 10 p.m.
Yeah, but you're not going to have to do any of the setup, though.
Well,
Hauling
I normally do.
1,000-pound speakers. Oh my
The
God,
speakers in the rink too. That's always a fun one. But it's a great event, the Blue Ox. I'm excited for the season. We will do a special edition Big Pumpkin next week here, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. Should be a fun one. Hopefully people enjoy this as they're driving off to wherever you drive or fly to for MEA weekend. Peter Odney, I'm Tony Scott. Thank you for tuning in.
You need to stay up out the streets if you can't take the heat. You need to stay up out the streets if you can't take the heat. Cause it get cold like Minnesota.